2011 stand er im BDO-WM-Halbfinale, hat bislang ein klasse Turnier gespielt, 2 Matches bestritten und gerade mal ein einziges Leg nur abgegeben. Mal sehen, was er heute hier zeigen wird. Herzlich willkommen, Double Dekker, Jan Dekker! Der Achtelfinalgegner von Jan Dekker ist zurück in den Top 15 als aktuelle Nummer 13 der Welt. WM-Finalist aus dem Jahre 2010. Er hat die European Darts Championship in Mülheim an der Ruhr gewonnen 2012. Und jetzt scheint er wieder auf dem richtigen Weg zu sein. 3 Pro-Tour-Siege in 2017. Zuletzt stand er im Finale des World Grand Prix aus Down Under. The Wizard, Simon Whitlock! He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. And he said, I come from a land down under.
Well, I think it's fair to say, Paul, that Jan Dekker has had worse weeks in his life than the one he's just had. Very, very productive indeed. He secured a Players' Championship final spot on Wednesday by reaching the last 16 of the final Players' Championship event of the year. He qualified for the World Series finals on Monday, and yesterday he secured his passage into the European Championship with a 6-1 demolition of Mervyn King in the second round here. He's dropped just 1 leg this weekend so far to make it through to the final day, and he's now just 1 match away from a second quarter-final appearance on the European Tour this year. It's a good story for Jan Dekker, a very, very productive time in his career for the 27-year-old from the Netherlands, and standing in his way of that place in the quarterfinals here, the number 4 seed Simon Whitlock, a finalist at the World Grand Prix, of course, recently, last Sunday, and a man who ended Christoph Ratajski's immediate hopes, I suppose, of making it into the World Championship as well.
Yeah, we tend to forget that the Grand Prix final was only 8 days ago.
I know.
A lot has happened in 8 days.
As Jan Dekker will testify. A career-changing week. I mean, it's just accomplished so much. He's got so much to look forward to as a result of everything he's done in the past 7 days. And this is why we talked about it yesterday at the outset, this career-defining, potentially life-changing time of year for many players. And Jan Dekker is the human embodiment of all that. He exemplifies just what a critical time of year it is. And he's done so much, and he's now got so much to look forward to.
Absolutely.
85.
I was doing my research before we started today, around about 11 AM, and I was looking at his qualification through to this event. And I came across something rather spooky. Now, in research, the night before we started the event over in East Germany, there were 2 qualification nights, 2 qualification tournaments. Jan Dekker played against Mike De Dekker and Ron Meulenkamp.
Which in itself,
yeah, Dekker against De Dekker. Then he played Ron Meulenkamp, and that was to get through to the Reser event. He was beaten by Ron Meulenkamp in the final game. Oh, that's a 180.5 from Simon Whitlock. But in the next tournament, which happened about 10 minutes after the first one finished, he then played Mike De Dekker again, beat him by the same score, and then he played Ron Meulenkamp again, but then beat Meulenkamp to get to this stage. Crazy draw probabilities. 10. Double 16 for a very good first leg.
86. Jan, you require 117.
And all of that means that Jan Dekker, given everything he's achieved here, and in particular with reference to the European Championship, just maybe playing with a degree of freedom here. And he's now looking at tops.
97. Simon, you require 16.
We had a little pause before that tops, just wasn't 100% comfortable to go for it within his rhythm. That gives Simon Whitlock 1 shot. That's all he needs for a buoyant Simon Whitlock, who right now we can see is having a very good 2017 with title wins, with big runs in events, and of course what happened 8 days ago in Dublin. He'll be disappointed not to have taken that title, but I like the spirit from Whitlock at the end of the match. He recognises that making the final there will give him the Grand Slam again, a stage which he really does enjoy.
Yeah, and that was one of the first things that he alluded to in his post-match assessment after being beaten by Daryl Gurney in Dublin at the City West Hotel. These two players really on a high at the moment. As you say, first and foremost, he's got himself back in the Grand Slam, a tournament that's important to him. And who knows, he could well regain the European Championship title he won 5 years ago as well. A semi-finalist on the Euro Tour already this year in the German Darts Masters. A semi-finalist in Mannheim, a quarter-finalist in Riesa, as Dekker gets his first 180 of the match.
I was there when Simon Whitlock won that European Championship in Mulheim against Wes Newton in the final. That was a crazy good tournament. Upsets, great standards. I remember a belt game between Barneveld and Kim Huybrechts. That was my commentating debut that week, working with the likes of John Part and Stuart Pike. But Whitlock really was the guy just to get over the line that week. It could have been one of about 6 players who won it. Just happened to be Simon's week.
You require 96.
As it was when he won the Dutch Darts Masters in 2012 as well. He is a European Tour winner, one of 8 European Tour winners to line up in the last 16 today.
56. Simon, you require 40.
World Championship finalist, of course, as well in 2010. He's had a go at a few of the World Series events this year too. And he has a 2-leg lead here as well. Winner of this to face either Andy Bolton or Vincent van der Voort. Bolton looking to gate crash his way into the party in Hasselt by way of reaching the final. After all, he did see off the World Grand Prix winner yesterday with an average of 103, so he's on that evidence very capable of overcoming Vincent van der Voort in his next match. And from there on, who knows?
We've talked all weekend about how tired some of the players are. Now, I've just worked out in my head that Simon Whitlock is probably the one player in the field, and definitely the one that's left, who has played the most darts in the last 3 months. Let's take away the World Match Play at Blackpool. Then you put the Players' Championship events at the start of August.
Yep.
He then went straight to Auckland, went to Melbourne, went to Perth, went to Maastricht, went to Mannheim. He's played every week.
Did all the Dublin stuff as well, yeah.
For 2.5 months. He must be absolutely blowing it as far as tiredness is concerned. He really is. Maybe at the end, and just one more go today before a week off. He'll probably be looking forward to next week when the German Masters is on.
Yeah, and there were times yesterday where Ratajski threatened Whitlock. It was 3 breaks to 2. It was 6-4 in the end, but it was 3 breaks to 2 in that match in favour of the Wizard. 6 out of 11 on his doubles. He averaged 94. And it was a heartbreaking way for it to end for Christoph Ratajski.
No, he did miss Champions League. I've just remembered that one. So he did have a little bit of time off there, but I know he was actually playing something that weekend, so he was still travelling.
Is he a big practicer as well? Simon Whitlock puts in the hours.
He really does. He's got his own designated practice area at the back of the garden. He's had this custom-built thing there for a good couple of years, and he loves it in there. It's a real sanctuary for him.
98. You require 48.
Well, that just keeps Whitlock alive in this one, but Dekker now looking at double 16. And it's a chance for Whitlock to break again here.
46.
Huge chance. Dekker wasn't missing those earlier in the week, and what's more, he wasn't missing them yesterday. 6 for tops for Whitlock. Normally deadly.
26.
Not this time.
Jan, you require 32.
Well, Jan Dekker losing only 1 leg this weekend. Prior to today, he's let 2 go by already. He needs to get back in business here. And he holds for a 2-1 deficit. And he got away with that one to an extent because Whitlock had a good chance there to extend his cushion and break for a second time. As it is, it's 2-1.
97.
I came up yesterday with the notion that Jan Dekker maybe was a witch doctor because of the unfortunate circumstances with Christian Kist. And then yesterday, Mervyn King wasn't feeling 100%. Thought maybe not only was Jan Dekker putting the points in the dartboard, but maybe into a voodoo doll. Doesn't look like that voodoo doll is working against the wizard. Maybe he's got the spells to counteract the witch doctor.
Well, his numbers are eye-catching at the moment. 103.5 on the averages, 2 180s he's thrown as well.
I can't remember ever seeing Jan Dekker in such a good mood. He's 2-1 down in this match and he's still smiling. Maybe he's playing with that freedom that you mentioned earlier, Rob.
I think purely and simply he is. I mean, when so much is going right for you. He just seems to exude a lot of confidence when you see him backstage walking around. He always looks fairly relaxed and fairly happy with life anyway.
He's a man of few words. He's like the anti-Northie. Oh, go and get that quickly, Simon.
A little spring in his step as he scampered across the stage to get there.
I'll tell you what, it's a good job he's got thin points, Simon Whitlock, because if they were any thicker coming out, if he'd have had points like
100.
Rob Cross, who has a very thick point on the end of his dart, that may have hit the wire. He's actually, funnily enough, he's made the wire move.
58.
There's an indentation in the tops, and the dart has actually bent the wire, and he's made tops bigger.
Made it bigger by a margin, by a fraction, yeah.
99.
Play your percentages, leave yourself 40.
Look at that. That's quite an indentation, Simon.
Will that be rectified prior to the next game?
They may have to change the board. They changed either every game or every other game on the European Tour. Sometimes the games are so good that the treble 20 just gets absolutely mashed up in 10 or 11 legs. Right now, Simon Whitlock is playing very, very well. And if any of you guys at home like a little flutter,
80.
Simon Whitlock's not a bad bet because he's in good shape right now.
Yeah, he was 16-1 in the outright betting prior to the start of play today, on a par with Michael Smith and just behind Chizzy in the betting. Michael van Gerwen, of course, 85. The odds-on favourite to win the 6th European Tour title of 2017. A stronger favourite now that Peter Wright has been wiped from the board as well.
140. Jan Ripar 170.
Well, Simon is forcing Jan Dekker to hit these kinds of things, and earlier in the match he hit those two exact darts but missed tops. And it's almost a carbon copy.
Yeah.
He pulls it low by about an inch.
Yeah, it was an inch below the wire, and Whitlock now looking at 52.
A little flinch of the eye as if to say that was only just in the 20. But they are in the designated segments, and he takes a 4-1 lead. I put to social media yesterday, Rob, about Dan Dawson's love for calling Mervyn King's fans the Merverts. Well, he was playing Mervyn King last night, and I said out loud, I wonder what Jan Dekker's fans would be called then. And I had a couple of great responses on Twitter from two different people saying exactly the same. They should be called the Deckheads. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Deckheads, just to be clear.
Deck, with an E.
With an E.
D-E-K-K. I think it's a thing that can definitely improve someone's popularity with the fans, have a collective group name. The Snake Biters, or mine are the A-listers.
Like it.
37.
I called Simon's the Whiz Kids.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, let us know. We like to see what people think of what we talk about. What should people's collective fans' names be? But right now, Simon Whitlock is bossing this match, even though Jan gets that 180. Whitlock, 6 darts from 181, and he will go 5-1 up. This is a very good performance from the Australian. And he's been the Australian #1 for a long time now.
And that, I think, means a lot to him. The fact that, I mean, I think that was one of the factors involved, or one of the factors that came to light and was certainly evident in that tete-a-tete with Kyle Anderson during the World Series this summer as well. This status clearly means a lot to Simon Whitlock.
Oh, he's a figurehead. Even when I was, you know, jostling for position with him, I always saw Simon as the #1. He is the most recognisable dart player on the planet for me.
57.
Can't exactly mistake him for anybody else. Maybe Gandalf, but
apart from that,
a bit more youthful than Gandalf. A bit better at darts too. 88.
16.
Not there yet, and Dekker with a chance to break back here. 84 away. Make that 64. Ooh, and he's missed the 14. He's missed the big number.
Cardinal sin.
44.
But it doesn't look like it's affecting him mentally, because maybe he's just run out of steam. And even though Simon Whitlock's played a lot of darts in the last 2.5 months, he's not running out of steam. How much does he want to get back on the winners rostrum here on the European Tour? This is his last opportunity in 2017.
129.
Well, 129 to start things off for Dekker, just at the early juncture of this potentially final leg in this match. Word of thanks as we acknowledge another 180 by Whitlock to our esteemed colleague Richard Ashdown for just shedding further light on the stats stemming from Peter Wright's losing average today of 110.59. Dan Dawson alluded to the highest ever losing averages at the European Grand Prix in 2015. We saw Michael van Gerwen against Sulevic, 111.37, Barney 111.06, but the losing average of 110.59 by Peter Wright today against Kim Huybrechts, the highest of 2017 so far.
43. Jan Uruguay 58.
Oh, good leg from Jan. Could be 11 darter to stay in the match. And Tops has not been his friend, but double tenors right now gets him a #2 next to his name. Whitlock can't wait to get to the Yoki. Previously, I've seen Simon take his time to get to the Yoki, but I've noticed these days he's at that mark a lot quicker these days. I think that just shows confidence and comfort with what he's got in his hands. It took time for him to get used to these very unusually shaped darts. But now they are absolutely deadly.
134.
Well, that looks like he threw it with no flight on, but it actually popped out at the end.
Well, we talked about Dekker playing with freedom. Might be playing with a bit more freedom now, given that he's 5-2 down.
30.
But with darts like that, it could well be over sooner rather than later. Well, we talked about that quarter-final he made earlier this year. It's the third time this year he's made the final day. He also made the third round in Hildesheim at the very start of the European campaign this year. Prior to this year, though, we hadn't seen Dekker on the European Tour since that 6-0 defeat by Gary Anderson in the third round of last year's European Open in Dusseldorf, where he beat John Henderson and Chizzy. Had a really good start, but then it all came crashing around him in that third round defeat by Gary Anderson.
I think this year has been a standout season for Jan Dekker, because obviously no disrespect to him, but a lot of guys looked at him and thought he was quite enigmatic, and we still do. But when he's been on this year, he showed people a standard that they maybe thought that he didn't have. And me personally, I think he's a lot better now than he has always been. And Simon Whitlock
74
had double top to take the match right there, and he will be back to clinch victory as soon as Jan Dekker's thrown these three. Just feel that Simon Whitlock is ready to close this out.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it being a productive time for Jan Dekker, perhaps making up for the disappointment of missing out on the World Championship last year in the Central European qualifier. He's certainly going the right way about it, but Simon Whitlock is going the right way about his business once again. And the Wizard is through to the quarterfinals of the European Darts Trophy. It seems as though all the good work he put in last week in Ireland is very much with him once again this weekend here in Germany. And Whitlock, a comfortable winner in the end. Jan Dekker perhaps playing with a bit too much freedom there, already assured of his places in the European Championship, the Players' Championship finals and the World Series of Darts finals as well. We will see a lot more of Dekker this year, but we won't see any more of him this weekend. Whitlock averaging 99.57. On the way next, Norris and Cullen for you.
Was there actually a point where you had doubts and where you thought, oh man, I won't come back in the top 15, in the top 10?
No, I never give up that belief. I know I'm good enough, and I just, you know, that's my goal. Get back top 10, top 8, top 6. That's my goal.
It's cool. We see you later again. Thank you very much. Simon Whitlock. Will zurück in die Top 10. Und der Weg ist gar nicht mehr so weit als Nummer 13 der Welt. Ich habe gerade gesagt, wenn das dann mal so läuft, dann sieht das immer so einfach aus.